Welcome to the latest in the MTD podcast, EMO 2023 International Podcast number 3. So obviously we've already done 2 already. Today I'm joined by Tom Skubala, technical reporter.
Hello.
That's it, that's all we've got. Dr Wilfred Schafer from EMO VDW. We'll do an introduction of yourself in a moment. And of course, Tony Gunn from MTD over in the United States. It's our 3rd international EMO podcast and your 3rd, wherever you are, Tony. Where is this time?
We're in Chicago today. We actually have a massive event this week, so nothing better than to lead up to an even more massive event globally with preparation here in Chicago.
And if your skin tone changes, it's because the power's been in and out all morning, hasn't it?
It has, yeah.
Okay.
Nothing like a nice hotel that's going to have power go in and out on a rainy day.
Brilliant. But Dr. Wilfred Schafer, can you give us an introduction of yourself? So VDW, and then, yes, give more insight, please.
Well, yes, my name is Wilfred Schafer. I'm the general manager of the VDW, German Machine Tool Builders Association. And well, I'm with VDW already since around about 20 years. Until the end of this year, of course, Mr. Markus Hering is going to be my successor, taking over in January. And VDW is on one side as an association representing the interests of the German machine tool sector, and we're also mainly doing support to the small and medium-sized companies in terms of market research, technical projects and technical research, standardization, and so on and so forth. And of course, representing their interests towards the national and especially European politics. And on the other side, under the umbrella of VDW, we are a trade show organizer with no fairground, of course. And our main event is EMO in Hannover.
Now, EMO 2023, I'm going to say the biggest engineering show in the world. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's fair to say it's the largest production show internationally. Yeah.
And Tony, I know you've got a view on this as well. What your thoughts?
Exactly that. And it's so much fun. It really is. If you're a fan or just find joy in technology and manufacturing, this is the show to go to. It's, you know, the cliche statements of kids in a candy store and everything that goes along. It really does feel like that. And as much as we think we know, we step into a world and go, oh my gosh, I know nothing. I have so much more to learn. It really is that kind of a show.
Absolutely. You say kids in a candy store. I've got one sitting right next to me because how many times, Tom, have you been to EMO?
0.
Excellent. Anything that stands out for you, what you're looking forward to seeing?
Just the whole thing. I can't wait. Obviously, I went to A&B and that was a great show. But then all I get is you guys saying how much bigger and like all the technology that we're on show. And it's just, I can't wait. 1 week to go.
Excellent. So 1 week to go. Dr. Wilfred, I'm going to put you on the spot here. First of all, I think we know now, but whereabouts is it?
Where it is taking place in Hannover from the 18th to the 23rd of September.
There you go. And then you're leading on to my next question was, what can you expect to see?
Well, as I mentioned, it's the whole value chain of production. It's starting off with all tools in software that you need, CAD, CAM, then going down to the production, which is machine tools, controls, most important today as everything is digital. You have all the tooling that you need, all measurement and quality systems, measurement devices, and all supplies that are important to have a production running. So it's, as I mentioned, the whole value chain. And even more today, it's a lot of companies, startups with digital solutions around production.
Excellent. So really, all of us are really looking forward to it. We're going to be super busy. I know that. How many exhibitors are there? How many people will be visiting? Obviously, don't need specifics. And also, how many halls have you got, though?
Well, it's around about 1,850 exhibitors from 42 countries exhibiting, taking part in putting them together in 15 halls on the fairground. Visitors is always difficult to say in advance. 2019, we could welcome more than 100, around about 130,000 visitors on the fairground. So we have expectations of this size.
There's going to be quite a few people there then, and there's just to throw in there as well. There's 5 film crews from MTD, so we'll hopefully see a lot of the people there. But moving on swiftly now, there's 3 key areas. I'm going to put Tom to the test because EMO 2023 is about 3 key areas. Don't check your notes, Tom. What are they, please?
So we have the future of business, the future of connectivity, and sustainability.
Absolutely. Now, sustainability. I'm thinking, well, people might think, wind farms, and so it's not just about that. I'm going to push over to Tony. Sustainability. What does that mean to you, sir?
Oh, so much, and we can go into the common themes as you just mentioned of wind power, solar power, water power, hydropower, right? But there's so much more involvement in that, and I'd like to bring up one story quickly, which is the simplicity of thinking about coolant. Now, I went into a shop just recently where the coolant was too gooey and sticky, so a whole lot of residue was sticking onto the parts themselves. And so when the parts were removed, they got blown off outside the machine, and they realized that they were actually going through their coolant about 50 to 60% faster than they had previously on their existing coolant before that because of just the combination of chemicals inside the coolant. So that's a really quick story of where sustainability can be in all aspects, and that goes into the machines working and reading when we're not actually utilizing them to their fullest potential, to shut down when it's sitting, to make sure that power is being utilized correctly. So sustainability is now being utilized all over a shop with cutting tools, coolant, machine monitorings. I mean, the list goes on and on. Even before we even get into the areas of solar, wind, hydro, and those more common themes.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Tony. But it's not about sustainability today, even though you've given us that quick overview. It is about connectivity. And that's why we have got Dr. Wilfred Schafer with us. I'm not an expert on this side of things. I've got a rough idea, and obviously chatting with Tom about this. But tell me more about connectivity and what it means to engineers, machine tool companies, etc.
Well, connectivity, I think we are discussing already, since 2011, as far as I remember from the German perspective, when Industry 4.0 was created. And everybody was talking about a disruptive technology. Yes, on one side it may be, but on the other side, there was a lot of development needed because you cannot just run digitization with proprietary solutions because they do not fit together, and you do not really have a digital network set up. And on the other side, you cannot just look on one technology. You need to take the view of the customer who is running a production line, connecting all devices that he wants to monitor or he wants to optimize. And therefore, we had a discussion going on in 2017 that we need an open standardized language for the networking within production.
Okay, so I just want to take a step back because we'll come to that in a minute. When you say it's what do you mean by disruptive technology? Sorry, I don't understand that side of things.
Well, disruptive is that let's say this new technology changes the communication dramatically, gives new business models in a very fast time perspective. But this was not really the case. As we can see, there are not too many really new business solutions based on digital technologies in production. There are some coming up more and more, but it took some time because some basic standardizations developments are needed for this.
Okay, and when you say basic standardizations and developments, what does that actually relate to?
Well, this relates on the vertical perspective on as I mentioned, standard communication protocol. So connecting the shop floor with different technologies to the IT level, and also looking into the business process to have a horizontal layer, which is always more or less discussed with the terms of the digital twin. Yeah. So
okay,
to add all informations one by one from the from the job coming in and down to production and then to delivery.
Okay, now I know, Tom, you're sort of on the shop floor more than myself. Have you seen any sort of these effects and things that have been happening?
Yeah, but just before we go into it, I've got a quick question for Tony. You know, because of the global pandemic, do you think connectivity was kind of thrust into the spotlight a lot quicker than it would have done anyway? Because obviously with the unprecedented staff shortages and also the supply chain shortages, do you think because of the pandemic, connectivity sort of got a jump start on where it would have been if we hadn't have had that?
That's a great question, Tom. And my personal perspective and opinion is yes. Obviously, it takes someone who's doing this for the first time a little bit of courage and understanding and education to jump into that world. But ultimately, yes. And not in every part of the world, of course, but certainly here in the U.S. and other parts that I've seen, it became necessary and not just potentially something that needed to happen through time. It was immediately exactly what you just said, Tom, which was we were forced into a corner of how can we continue to improve and grow or even survive based on what had happened over the last couple of years. And automation and that connectivity of all things was I won't say easy because none of that's real easy right away, but it's becoming easier and it was the quickest way to become sustainable.
And I just want to carry on from that a little bit, where obviously people always say that with connectivity and with robots and automation, that obviously they're taking over people's jobs. But that's wrong in my opinion, because obviously the more robots you've got, the more people you need to program these robots. So obviously we're on connectivity. So is that giving people more skills as well on a day-to-day basis because they've got to learn more? And also, you're not just sat running a machine anymore. You've got to be able to program a whole network of machines to work together.
I think we'll throw that over to Dr. Wilfred. Oh, sorry.
It has various aspects. On one side, automation is needed due to more optimization of processes and more productivity on one side. On the other side, we have lack of people in various levels of production. And therefore, we see already the demand for automated processes all around the machine, or the whole value chain is on demand, is picking up fast in the last weeks. And on the other side, yes, you need a lot of new skills and education. And it's not only on the engineering level that you need to program and you need IT specialists. Yes, you need them to set up the system, but you need the understanding even down to the shop floor. So we are running also training courses in the field of vocational training so that the person at the machine understands what the machine is doing if they are not even influencing it. Because if we talk about digitization, things may happen without direct activity by the person at the machine. So he must understand what is happening, what is data, what kind of data is delivered upfront, and what quality systems are running in the background. So all levels need new skills.
And sorry, before you jump in, just talking about data, what is one of the biggest problems people are having with connectivity? Because I know here in the UK we've got 5G now, but not everyone's using it. So is that the biggest problem with connectivity people have got? Is bandwidth?
Well, if you want to go into real-time processes, of course, yes. But first of all, we are not really going into real-time processes outside of the premise. I think on premise also this is not a problem. I think more or less to have a standardized procedure and to have, of course, the analytics to get the necessary information out of data. I think these are the main topics.
Okay, but it's all well and good having this data. How are you going to investigate it and understand it? What sort of information are you getting? And are you getting things like predictive maintenance, for example? It's giving you that information. It's no good having lots of information, but you need to be trained how to use it as well and what you're actually looking at.
Well, there has been a lot of research on, let's say, getting the information out of data, even if you do not have a large data volumes as you may you're used to in other environments. But this is possible. There's enough, let's say, smart technologies who are able to be trained on various situations in not only in maintenance, also in process optimization. So this is available in a specific scale, let's say.
And I want to quickly talk about predictive maintenance, because I asked Tony. I'm going to throw back to Tony and ask him the same question I asked him before, but I didn't let him answer. So Tony, how do you get a machine to predict it needs maintenance? Because obviously machines, three different companies can have the same machine and they'll all run differently. So how can each machine predict its own maintenance?
It's a great question, Tom. And all of this is some of my favorite topics, from the dull, dirty, dangerous that you mentioned of the labor shortage, removing the dull, dirty, dangerous, and letting people get back to their creativity, to fully optimized, DMG Mori cells where everything's running without a human, to what we're talking about now, predictive maintenance on the machines. And predictive maintenance on a machine has been described to me, and there's a lot more experts out there than me on this subject, but it's been described to me so I can probably explain it in elementary terms compared to some of the experts out there. But imagine you do have those three machines, Tom, that you just mentioned, and it's just a collection of information through time. So if they're all being run differently, and the shop next door is doing the same thing, and the shop next door is doing the same thing as far as running machines. Well, these machines, and let's just take it from the simplest factor of a 3-axis machine. Let's not even jump into 5-axis, 8-axis, 18-axis as some of these machines out there are, but let's start with 3-axis machines. So you have your X, Ys, and Zs, right? So let's say we have ball bearings in our X's and in our Ys, and it's going to constantly make shifting movements over time. Well, as time continues, as the years collect data and it becomes more precise and more exact, we understand where certain shifts are going to be most regular and where these ball bearings are going to start to go out quicker than some of the other ones and some of the other parts of the machine. So while everything is an understanding of AI, which is something we're all incorporating into our shops as quickly as we can, these on the back end, these machines are now doing predictive maintenance to go, okay, well, for the last 6 months to 9 months to a year, we have seen 60 to 70% of our machines have failures in these areas based on what all these shops are doing. So we know as a general understanding that if we replace this within the next month, we're going to be able to take care of a large majority of these companies without them ever having downtime on this machine, waiting for parts to ship in, because we all know that having a machine down is one of the most stressful things that can happen to any of us in our machine shops. We're losing money, we're losing time. So that's a very basic version of the overhead of predictive maintenance, but I wanted to break it down to its simplest form and then amplify that as a ripple and say, well, we can start doing more and more and more on the broader machines just from the basic understanding of how that works.
Okay, well, I'm going to lead in for now. I'm going to go over to you, Dr. Wilfred. You said about predictive maintenance. That then ties in with your AI. Are there concerns about how efficient it is? And I mean, I've used AI in terms of ChatGPT, for example, and it's obviously very basic compared to what you guys are doing. But is that a good way forward, or is this technology going to be taking over and we'll lose control of things?
Well, I think first of all, we have to understand that predictive maintenance, for example, is been created even before there was anybody talking about ChatGPT, because the basic for this is that there's a machine characteristic, and there's a characteristic of the various parts in the machine, like ball bearings and all these things. And then you have a knowledge about the behavior of these parts and the whole system over time, depending on the forces that are running on the machine. So as mentioned, if you have 3 customers with the same machine, but they are running different work pieces on these machines, the wear and the situation in these machines is different. So depending on what you use for the predictive maintenance, temperature, vibration, or whatever, this has been learned. And on the other hand, AI is going to be used to better understand how, with let's say necessary analytics, get the prediction out of these data, knowing what are the basic characteristics that you need for this.
Okay, two issues then have come to mind here in terms of moving on from that as such. A lot of data there, I'm assuming, and also security, because you've got, Tom said earlier, your 5G networks. How do you stop security issues, and how do you store all this data?
Well, security is a problem because you have to handle it different between, let's say, IT security that we all have in our office environment and OT security. You cannot really handle it the same way. It is a mixture of, let's say, technical measures to secure the process, the machine connected to the network, and of course, education of the people using it. This is always a combination out of both. And the data handling, well, it's handled different. Some companies say, well, there is important data of my business involved, and we only store it on premise. It's not leaving our company, and others have, of course, secure communication channels also to exchange it with their headquarter or customers and so on. And another aspect is that you don't have the channels open during the whole time, but just when it's needed, like when you have a data exchange, when you have a service process, then let's say you open the channel with secure communication, and then you do what you want to do.
Okay, so there's lots of things to consider here. What I want to do, though, I'm aware of time, is I'm going to put Tony and Tom on the spot, and then hopefully you'll be able to get. Well, not hopefully you'll be able to give us an answer. If I said to you, Tom, Umati.
No, what?
Exactly. Yeah, that's fair
no,
enough.
That'll do.
I don't want to, but and then Tony, over to yourself. Umati, if I said that to you, and I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Yeah.
Tony,
well, for me, let's be fair. We're on our third international podcast, which we're excited about, presenting EMO in a partnership and friendship with MTD. And so podcast number 2, I would have had the same response as Tom. What? But since we've had that conversation already, I now know a little bit more about it. But I'm actually going to turn it over to Dr. Schafer as well, because I think it's important for it to be explained correctly. It's pretty much a whole lot of information that's going to be globally. It's almost like the whole world speaking English, right? It's one common language that everyone understands and that we can communicate with.
Well, let's have that's the right summary. Is that correct, though?
Well, yes. I think we have to differentiate it into 2 aspects. First of all, we are trying to create a common international language, which is based on the OPC UA standardization. And there's a vertical perspective that is the, let's say, the standard for machine tools, and the standard for woodworking machines, and the standard for robotics, and so on. So there are, let's say, more than 50 joint working groups internationally working on these vertical descriptions of data and communication for their technology. Half of them are already finished. And then we have a horizontal perspective because some information and data are technology independent. So let's say at the moment they are talking about energy monitoring in machines. So this is the same in a woodworking machine, in a plastic machinery, or in a woodworking machine. So this is the top layer, and there's already some specifications available. But what we are talking about when we're talking about OPC UA is standardization. So you write a piece of paper and you say, here's the standard. That's not very sexy. So what we tried to set up is a brand, which is UMATI, Universal Machine Technology Interface, to, on one side, communicate that there is a possibility for a common language, and on the other side, to create a community, which we already have with more than 300 partners, to exchange views, to set up specific use cases, and also then to do live demonstrations, as we are going to do at EMO, to show real time with machines connected to IT platforms that it is working.
Right. So it is actually, it's a real life thing, and it's being used right now.
Companies are offering this. Companies are discussing this with their customers or even suppliers. So we are involving very importantly the control manufacturers in the world, the main manufacturers, and they are involved in also our live demonstrations at Jimtov last time. One of our main partners, Fanuc, had shown at their booth 3 applications with the connection within OPC-UA, UMATI, DMG Mori, or other partners, but also with Siemens, Heidenhain, Beckhoff, so all the major partners, Mitsubishi Electric, which we need to get the data out to communicate, are involved.
Absolutely. So you've got all the main players are all engaged with this to drive it forward.
Yes.
Excellent news.
That's
now,
right.
I'm wary of time. So what I'd like to do is, we've talked about connectivity, sustainability, the future of business. We could see it at EMO with a number of stands, but you've got your own stand there. Is that right, Dr. Schafer?
Yeah, we have, let's say, these 3 future insights. We started communication up front.
Yep.
With connectivity. We have a special booth with UMATI and other partners. With sustainability, this is what I would like to add. We also have a special booth which just do not only focus on sustainability or energy efficiency aspects of the individual system, like energy efficient machine or what was just mentioned, other cooling to optimize processes. Here we want to give the understanding that to optimize sustainability in production, you have to look onto the whole company, onto the whole production line, also connecting the machine level with the building. You have heating loops, cooling loops, all these things are very important. That's what we show at the same time at EMO at the special booth.
Excellent. So it's not just about buying the latest machine tool itself, but buying everything that goes with it. So I'm going to sort of wrap the show up now. Tom, anything you'd like to add? Apart from you're super excited.
I am super excited and I can't wait. And that has been so much insight from Dr. Schafer. And old Tony is always great. And he did I am going to say he did dodge that question quite well. But we'll gloss over that. But it's been great to see you both, and can't wait to meet you in person at EMO.
No, I don't think Tony dodged the answer. He just said I don't know the full answer. Whereas Dr. Schafer obviously knows a lot more. Tony, any final words from your good self? Apart from you've been insulted by Tom.
It's been a wonderful podcast, Dr. Schafer. Thank you so much for enlightening us on the pieces that we don't fully understand, and allowing an audience member to also participate in that education as well. Colin, always a fantastic job. Tom, since you threw me under the bus, I don't know how many compliments I'm going to offer you, but I will see you at EMO next week, and we're going to have a great time. So much technology to see, and we look forward to seeing everyone there.
Excellent. And any final words for yourself, Dr. Schafer?
Well, no, thank you. I'm looking forward to the show. I think there's a lot of exciting things to see. Also, we have a lot of young people there, about 6,500 young girls and boys that we want to impress about technology so that they decide for the right job. And so I'm looking forward. I will be there. Hope to see you in Hannover next week.
Excellent. Great. Thank you all for joining us, and a great podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed it and got a bit of education. We will see you at the world's biggest engineering show at Hannover, EMO 2023, 18th to 23rd September, very, very soon. I hope you enjoyed the EMO 2023 International Podcast number 3.
From the 18th to the 23rd of September, MTD will be at EMO 2023 in Hannover. So what are you waiting for? Get in touch, get ready, and get excited about EMO.